Okay, I posted this in my Discord. Apparently on Primal, there's some drama going on. And I've heard in Final Fantasy XIV that Primal has a bad reputation for having just grade A idiocy, which I have seen firsthand in some cases, but I haven't seen in others. And I was kind of surprised. But this video from Zepla highlights something that I saw on Llama Todd's stream the other night. Apparently is considered toxic and aggressive to suggest that someone just consider using raid food and to meld their gear for savage content. We're not talking about extremes or we're not even talking about normal content. Savage.
So this was a tweet from Llama Todd. He tweeted that apparently on Primal, it is toxic and aggressive to suggest that someone consider using raid food and meld their gear for savage content. It's practice. No, I haven't read this yet, so I don't know what this is going to say.
I've read it.
On Primal Data Center.
I've read it.
So someone says, Red Mage, you should consider fully melding in food. Your HP is a tad low. You should consider. So they're being...
Yeah. So the first thing, let me just point that out. I don't think she's much softer volume than you. I got everything turned up all the way. I don't know what else to do. Everything's jacked up to complete maximumness. I have this problem with some people's YouTube videos. They just have it low. Yeah, I got everything turned all the way up. I don't know what else to do.
Very polite.
But what I was saying, that's probably the nicest way you could tell somebody that you're undergeared. Because you can be undergeared. And in savage content, if you're undergeared, it hurts everybody. Let's make that clear. Let me say that again. When you do savage content in Final Fantasy XIV and you're undergeared, you're hurting everybody. Okay.
Okay. They say no. He's new and learning.
The guy just straight up said no.
No.
He just straight up said no to considering fully melding in food. He said no. No.
Says the original person. Purple says, why so toxic? Blue says, it's not toxic to ask basic level things like raid food. Now, you can see from the background, they are on the
it's P1S.
First savage fight of the
yeah,
tier.
P1S.
Eric Thaonio's fight. Green says, I don't think that was toxic. Yellow says, this is not being toxic, to be honest. That's one of the basic things about savage raiding. Pink says, he said consider. I think that's a kind suggestion, to be honest. Purple, our hungry person, says it's practice.
Let me just say this. This is a minority situation. Like, a majority of the people in that group agree with the initial assessment. If you notice that Purple's the only one tripping. Like 3 or 4 other people are saying, you know, you do realize that's a kind and very well worded suggestion that you just should consider getting some raid food and melding your gear so that you don't die in 1.5 hit.
Though. Pink says, and wasn't too forced. Blue, when you do endgame stuff, full melds in food. Purple says, you realize that, right? Practice. Blue says, practice makes no difference. Green, let's not dwell. He clearly didn't mean for it to come off as aggressive. Oh, we have a peacemaker here. Purple, well, it did.
Does actually anybody watching this, if somebody tells you you should consider melding your gear and using raid food. If that's aggressive, I would hate to see how you react if somebody actually was aggressive to you and said, dude, oh my goodness, why are you so bad at this video game? Your damage sucks. Your gear is awful. You haven't melded any of your gear. Why are you so bad? In all of my days, I've never seen anyone as terrible as you. How would you react if somebody actually did that?
No need to fight. Blue, it's not aggressive. Purple, to me it was. Blue, it's the expectation. Red, can we go, LOL? Move on now, okay. I mean, are these all randoms in a party finder? Because this is like an incredibly civil discussion, to be honest with you.
It is. It is. I wanted to point that out too, man. That this is not that bad. It's just the one guy being a derp, basically being a doofus. And he's clearly the minority here. Clearly.
Like, I'm just looking at everybody that was involved in this discussion, and like, from someone that used to play WoW, I'm like, holy shit, we have like 5 different peacemakers in the party.
Yep. Yep. And if this were WoW, this wouldn't even be a party anymore. They'd get the boot. They wouldn't even listen. And even on Japanese Final Fantasy 14 groups, they wouldn't say a word. They wouldn't say a word. Know what they do? If they saw you and they saw you weren't melded and you weren't using raid food, they will kick you. You get kicked out. You wouldn't even get a word. You would not even get a warning. You just get, you get kicked.
We're all like,
they wouldn't even say anything.
He didn't mean for it to come off as aggressive. He's new. He's learning. Someone else is like, he said consider. I think that's a kind suggestion, to be honest. It's like, this is not how things work in other MMOs.
It isn't. It really isn't. This is
so crazy because
this is tame. This is very tame. And this is one guy unable to take criticism, which is common in this world. It actually is very common in this world for people to react this way to criticism. A lot of people just don't have the backbone anymore to take valid constructive criticism. They've been raised to be always on the right end of things. Even when they're wrong, they're right. They've been taught that as kids. That even when you're wrong, you're right. So, here we have a snowflake being a snowflake.
Everybody's so nice. Everybody's so nice. Like, I'm imagining how this discussion would go in WoW. Hey, mage. Put on food or we'll kick you. No, they're gone.
They're gone. They're gone. See? And it's not just WoW like this, man. I don't know if you guys know how Final Fantasy 14 is set up, but Savage rating is the highest rating. This is the highest tier you can do. This is the highest raid you can do. I'm not counting ultimates because I don't consider ultimates to actually be a raid. There's something different. This is the highest level of raids you can do. If you're not doing the basic things like melding your gear or bringing the right food, then you shouldn't be doing this content. You actually shouldn't be doing this. You should go back to normal mode. Really, because this is the hardest of the hard content right now. This is the hardest content in the game. So if this one, again, this is just one guy. I don't like that this is being perceived as toxic or whatever. This is just one idiot. This is one idiot being an idiot. And listen, I say that very kindly because I actually have a rule in my chat here that says don't be an idiot, because you have control over of your idiocy. It's not an insult to say you're being an idiot, because you can stop anytime you want. You can, well, some people can. You can stop being an idiot. This guy's being an idiot, right? And his idiocy is like growing. And I kick him.
That's it.
Like if I was running this group, he'd be gone. I'd kick him. I'm dead serious. This is grounds to kick somebody. It really is. The only person that's bringing the group down, that's being an idiot, just kick him. Just get somebody else. This is grounds for kicking somebody.
Whole conversation that happened. It's crazy to me that, like, I guess I just have a different perspective on this, because this was clipped as an example of like someone being toxic when he's surrounded by
nice people,
super civil people.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying, well, oh, well, if you won't eat food, then why don't you eat shit? That's probably how this would go. And wow.
Chat, that's not funny. Stop laughing.
So, I mean, look, it's true. It's true. The guy is way, way off base, and he has no idea what he's talking about. Yes, you should consider fully melding and having food when you're going into Savage.
This is the thing that got me, is that he didn't even tell him to go do it. He's just saying you should consider it because your HP's low and you're going to be struggling until you do. So it's very good advice. It's actually very good advice, especially in this fight, because this is the only raid fight I've done. This is the only Savage raid fight I've done. And there are some moves in this thing that will wreck your face. And there's some things where you just have to take damage. Right, there's some AoE stuff where you have to take damage, and the healers. I got a feeling that Blue in this conversation is a healer, because if he's saying his HP's low, he's probably constantly topping his red mage up, because his HP is like almost at 0 the entire fight, right? And he's burning mana, he's burning cooldowns on this red mage when he should be doing other stuff like damage. It's actually good advice.
Yeah, you should consider it. Okay, they're not even saying like get the best top of the line food, get the best top of the line meals. They're not saying.
Yeah, exactly. This is one. Bomage in chat says this is also the easiest of the current Savage fight. Exactly. So if you're having trouble with this one, it's only going to get worse if you don't improve your gear. So this is the time to do it. And the guy was like, "We're only practicing." You should practice melding. You should practice raid food. Because raid food is actually part of your rotation. So it's actually practice that is valid. So this guy is so wrong in so many ways that he's making himself look so stupid, but everybody else is fine. So I don't think this is toxic at all. It's just one idiot.
And that.
It's one idiot. That's all it is.
And it's a thing that people often do when they're asked to do anything at all, even in the nicest possible way. You're always gonna have people that get really defensive about it.
Oh, I apologize. Food isn't part of your rotation. Pots are. I consider pots to be food because I'm an omni-crafter. So it's guild to me. It's all guild to me. So I consider pots to be food too. So you know what I mean.
Because you told them to do something, and their knee-jerk reaction is to say, "Oh no, don't tell me how to play."
She's absolutely right in this case, because this guy's first response was no. Red Mage, you should consider melding your gear and using raid food because your HP's low. No!
You don't mess up. He even admitted, to me it was. When people were like, that wasn't aggressive, he said, to me it was. And I think that's telling. It was actually a little bit of self-reflection there that I didn't expect. He acknowledges that not everybody else thinks that it was aggressive.
Well, he's alone. This is what they do. This is what snowflakes do. When they're alone, they have no choice but to play the victim. Nobody else was joining his bandwagon. Nobody else was saying that, hey, yeah, why are you so toxic? That's why his first thing was, why so toxic? That puts you on the defensive. This is a tactic, man. It's been used since kids use it in school. They throw you on the defensive so you're backpedaling. Oh, you're off balance. Why are you so toxic? I'm like, what? It's like leading a conversation with a wife beater question. Like, how long have you been beating your wife? What are you talking? That's a wife beater question. It's like these defense questions where you have no choice but to defend yourself. And your only recourse is to either ignore or to change the subject, because if you're on the defensive, they got control of the conversation. They got control of the whole situation if you're on the defensive the entire time. So I got to explain to you why what I told you isn't wrong instead of you doing what's right.
It's only him. He's realizing he had a wrong reaction to this by saying to me, only me, this was aggressive. Like, I think he was actually starting to come around when in the end,
nobody joined his party.
Move on now. Okay. Like realizing, okay, I'm being kind of a dickhead. I think that's what happened here. So, I'd really, I don't think it's, what did Bwana say? It's toxic and aggressive to suggest that someone consider using raid food. It's because the person asked why so toxic. Yeah, I mean,
looking at this, like now, this wasn't even worth tweeting. It's just one guy. This is not even worth tweeting. This is it almost seems like he's looking for drama, because I hate to say that, but this is just one guy in this entire group. I can see if it was like a group of people. It's just one dude.
Oh, sweet summer child. Is this your first MMO? Did you start with Final Fantasy 14?
This is
what you
nothing,
think
man.
Toxic is, my dear. You have really been you've been treated extremely kindly by people in this game, if that's your bar for toxicity. Honestly, it sounds like people. The guy would have survived MW2 lobbies. First online game ever. Yeah, of course. You can't post screenshots like this without blocking the names, okay? If you ever have something stupid happen to you in Party Finder, please do what Lamata did here and block the names first before posting it on Twitter. And
You can get banned for this. This is bannable. Square Enix will ban your buttock if you post screenshots with people's names with this kind of
sending
stuff.
me the link so we can all make fun of it. Please block the names first, but then send me the link, please, because it's hilarious. Yeah, I think toxic is very overused. Yeah. The bar for calling someone toxic in FFXIV is on the floor. I tend to agree. And that's good. Okay? It's good. Like, don't get me wrong. This is fantastic. It's great that the bar is, like, people are not used to being treated like shit in this game. That's good. We want that. We should be proud that it went this way. Okay, there's even like a resolution here at the end where we're all gonna move on.
It's good in a way, but here's a point, and this is one of the reasons why I'm talking about this video, is that a pleasant MMO experience doesn't always have to be everybody being very good at the game. And I think that's why some people shy away from high-level content. This is something I want to encourage you all about. It's not about you being good at the game. It's you being willing to learn and listen. If you listen and you participate and you try your best and you learn from your mistakes and you keep building upon that and you take criticism, when you finally kill that boss, it's going to be one of the best feelings you've ever had in your life. I'm telling you, it is. This is why people get addicted to raiding. That whole process of struggling and learning with friends and coming together, and then you kill it, and then you scream and you holler and everybody's so happy. It's going to make you feel so good because it's an absolute pinnacle of accomplishment. It feels good to work together to solve a problem, and you solve it. Your brain cells and your human juices absolutely love that. So you don't have to be very good at the game to do savage raiding. All you got to do is be willing to listen. That's all you got. You got to be willing to listen. If somebody says use raid food and meld your gear, you go, how do I do that? And I guarantee you, I think Llama Todd in his thread even said that in a previous fight, he said the same thing to somebody else. They left the instance. They bought the guy gear. They melded it for him, and they bought him raid food. Went back in, and they cleared it. And I guarantee you that guy felt so good after that. And it builds your confidence, and you'll want to do more raids. And a good static in Final Fantasy XIV, a good static is so hard to find, because what you want to find is you want to find people of like minds that have the same, similar sense of humor as you, and and know when to joke and know when to crack jokes and know when not to, know your limits. And you want people that are willing to provide constructive feedback and not necessarily chew you out for every little mistake you make. So if you make one little mistake and they chew you out every time, you may not want that. So finding a good static, and when I say static, I'm talking about a raid group that you meet with every week. That's what the term we use in Final Fantasy XIV is static. Finding a good static is essential to a successful and fun raid experience. Right? So if you go on Party Finders, what we call it, this is randoms. You go into what they call Party Finder. You're going to find people like this. It's just a Party Finder experience. People will tell you in Final Fantasy XIV, you're going to use Party Finder, you're going to run into people like this because they're randoms. It's just like rolling the dice. You're going to roll a 6. That's just the way the dice is rolled. You're going to roll a 6 and idiot's going to pop up. It's just going to happen. So don't be discouraged from doing high-end content because you think you're not good enough. The one thing that I think you should be conscious of is just finding the right people to play with. The content is not gonna be a problem. It's the people. The people always make this stuff hard.
Nobody's gonna get kicked. We're gonna move on and continue to play together. This is excellent. So I look at this conversation and I see an example of like a fairly mature community overall. So it's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. Oh, it's color coded. So all shades of red are DPS, green are healer.
So I wonder why he pointed out on Primal, because are they suggesting that this doesn't happen on other data centers? Because I'm a Primal guy, and I said this earlier. I'm like, I heard Primal can be toxic. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. I've just never seen it at all. And I played quite a bit on Primal. I just never have seen it. So I wonder why he pointed out that this was Primal. Does this just not happen on other data centers? I don't know. And this is not the first time I've heard about Primal. Like I said, I've heard it from other high-end raiders that say Primal is toxic. It's like they say the Party Finder is toxic. And I'm like, I don't know. I just haven't seen it.
Tanks. Oh, I see. Well,
I haven't seen it.
Coming from WoW, FF14 was Whiplash. Let me tell you a story, and I'm sure I've told this story before. When we had a really huge, our most recent, I should clarify, our most recent really huge wave of WoW players come to FF14. I had more than one person tell me that they thought everybody in Final Fantasy XIV was being sarcastic to them by saying, hey, good job. Like,
boy, if that ain't some PTSD, that's like people moving from New York to Florida. Like, hi neighbor, how you doing? What do you mean neighbor? Why do you care how I'm doing? How are you doing, huh? The niceness, they can't understand why people are nice.
hey, you did a really good job on that. And it took them
That's some PTSD right there.
to realize, wait a minute. I really am doing a good job.
Didn't Pint have a bit about that? Yeah, he did. He did.
I didn't believe
Was it Pint?
I thought
Where the guy went in the dungeon and they were just like, the guy, he died and he was like, all right, I'll leave. He was like, no, stay. We can do it. Like, what, are they being nice?
they were shitting on me. I had multiple.
Oh, it was
people
Captain
tell me
Grimm. That's
this,
who it
I
was.
swear, that they didn't believe that people were actually being that nice.
Yeah.
Like people saying,
But here-
hey, am I doing okay on this boss? Yeah, you're doing great.
If there's one spot, if there's one place in a video game, in MMORPGs, where you kind of need to expect a little bit more abrasive feedback, it's savage content. This is the hardest stuff in the game. You can't expect everybody to be as nice as they are in Dungeons and Trials, right? You just can't expect that. This is the highest of the high. I'm going to keep saying it. This is the hardest content in the game currently. There's nothing harder than P4, P1S, P2S, P3S, and P4S. Pandemonium Savage. This is the hardest content in the game right now. Well, hardest content at the highest level, because Ultimates are arguably harder. But anyway. So, you kind of got to go in with an expectation that maybe people are going to be a little bit more strict and a little bit more less forgiving of your mistakes. Again, if you're willing to learn and you're willing to take feedback and humble yourself and say, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I need to listen to this guy who does know what he's doing or possibly does know what he's doing. You'll be fine. You know, if you take that attitude, you'll be fine. But you just can't come in and say, why are you so toxic if you tell me to melt my gear and use food? Come on, man.
Yeah, you're doing really good. We're all really impressed. But the way people mean it is like, you're doing really good. We're so impressed. It's just, you need like recovery. You need to recover from what you've been through, man.
That's some
I came over
PTSD.
from WoW, and I thought people were being sarcastic or mean till someone clarified. I nearly cried. Look, somebody in the chat right now saying the same. Here's somebody else. Yeah, I 100% thought the same thing. Because people are sarcastic like that in M+.
Wow. Are there people really like that in Mythic Plus where they just like, wow, great damage, Warlock. That's awesome damage, Warlock. Jeez. Are you a top parser? Is the sarcasm that thick?
This is people in the chat right now. This happened in the...
Wow.
Yes, just.
That was right. Thank you. Even if I think it's sarcasm. Yeah, I usually do that too. But I can't tell when people are being sarcastic at all. Ever. I'm really bad at noticing sarcasm, so... Yeah, I don't pick up on that real well. Coming from WoW to FF14, it took me a while to actually type in party chat in dungeons because of WoW.
Yeah. I've heard that before. I have heard that before. That people are scared to type in chat. Like I used to go in dungeons and I'm like, okay, anybody, you guys know this fight, right? You know, because I tank a lot. So I tend to ask if I know there's a tricky mechanic, like if I go to what was it, Snowcloak, and there's a mechanic with the snowballs, right? I'm like, you guys know this mechanic, right? Sometimes you'll be met with silence, and I'm just like, and sometimes I'll do this. I'll type out, all right, judging from your silence, I don't think you're familiar with it. Because I think if people are familiar with it, they'll say yes. So I went and explained the whole fight. I'm like, all right, I'm going to point the boss at these little penguin dudes. He's going to sneeze at them, and they're going to turn to snowballs. There's going to be a phase where he's going to, you know, be vulnerable. Everything's going to light up. When that happens, you need to kick them snowballs and hit them. I think I even typed those exact words. They're like, okay. And we killed them fast, really fast. And the guy was like, not going to lie, coming from WoW, I'm not used to typing in chat. I was like, why? He's like, because everybody's so toxic. He's like, I didn't know the fight, but I didn't want to say anything. I thought you were going to yell at me. And I'm like, dude. That's bad, man. That is bad. That is really, really, really bad. If your game has that kind of reputation, that is really bad. That's really, really bad.
It's okay. It's okay. You're safe here. You're safe here now.
This is your safe space. This is your safe MMO.
Thanks a lot.
But let me tell you.
No one is toxic in FF.
Just to echo what she's saying. In Final Fantasy 14, if you don't even have to be a sprout. You don't have to be a flower. You don't have to be a returning player. You don't have to be a new player. Just say, I don't remember. I don't know this fight. If you say those words, people will love you. They'll be like, oh my goodness, somebody finally said it. All right, here, and they'll break out their paragraphs. All right, step 1. And they'll tell you everything because they were much rather, and I'm a tank. I would much rather you tell me you don't know the fight than if you just sit there and be quiet and die over and over again. Please tell us you don't know the fight. We will stop and we will get it done. It will take a lot less time to explain to you how to do the fight, and we do it in 1 or 2 tries, whether you try to figure it out 5 or 6 times and we die 10 times, and then we finally say, hey, dude, do you not know this fight? And you'd be like, no. Well, why'd you say anything? Just say something. Don't be afraid to speak up, guys. And even if somebody is toxic, just ignore them because they're the minority. Toxic people are the minority in Final Fantasy 14. It's a controversial opinion, but I firmly believe it. Toxicity is the minority. Just like in this video, this one guy is 5 people versus 1. There's one guy being dumb. Everybody else is being civil. That's the game in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's actually what I said. Yeah, what I said was that no one has ever been toxic in Final Fantasy 14. And if you were toxic before, then when you install FF14 on your computer, it cleanses your soul like a spiritual shower, and you're no.
The heck is going on? Bome says, I'm leveling tanks right now. Go into a fight normally, and I'm like, first time tanking is healers beware. You need to change that, Bomage. You need to change that. Don't say healers beware. Say healers adjust. And they'll know exactly what you're talking about. Trust me, I've done a lot of tanking in this game. If you say healers adjust, they'll be like, oh crap, it's coming. I'm saving all my big cooldowns for him. All of them.
No longer capable of telling lies or saying anything mean ever again. Yeah, so. Wait, is it sarcasm? No. What? 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 Cleanse me. What? Mine was a spiritual bubble bath.
It's kind of messed up that people are so scarred by WoW. Like I haven't played. I haven't done enough WoW in-game content to know how it is. I've only dabbled in it. You know, I've only done a few. I've never done Mythic Plus stuff. I've only done a few heroic raids or heroic stuff and dungeons. Actually, I don't think I've ever done a heroic. Yeah, I have done a heroic raid once or twice, but I haven't done enough to know. And when I did it with people I knew, so it wasn't the typical WoW experience, you know. But this is bad. Like from a WoW perspective. I'm not talking about Final Fantasy 14. Again, toxicity is the minority in Final Fantasy. You can't convince me otherwise. I will stand on that soapbox until my feet hurt. But that's bad if that's come to be expected in WoW.
Like,
that's
talking
really bad.
about toxic people in Final Fantasy 14. One time, I knew somebody that told me that he was friends with a GM, and anytime people did something he didn't like, he would say that actually his GM friend is standing right next to us, but he's invisible, so we can't see him. But he's actually in the game right now, but because he has GM powers, we can't see him in the game, but we better watch out.
That's messed up. That's really messed up. All right, check out this video from Zepla. I think it was a good video. She compares toxic players in Final Fantasy 14 and WoW. Again, the Llama Todd thing, I think it was overblown. I think it was overblown. I really think that it wasn't as bad as people have blown it up to be. Because his initial tweet wasn't that big a deal anyway. I just didn't like that he said that apparently on Primal. So he calls out the data center for one guy. When he could have said apparently telling a player that they need food and they need to be melded is toxic. He could have just left it at that. But no, he had to say on Primal. Why would you call out the data center unless you want drama? Unless you want to be a drama model. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Zepla, for the vid.